Today is Thursday, so it is officially Throwback Thursday, and I have decided to make a little change to my channel. And what I'm still going to keep my historical uh, stuff on my channel, but what I'm going to do is from now on Thursdays do a Throwback Thursday segment and highlight and spotlight some of the former players who've come to the program. So today I am going to spotlight the late Steve Davis of the Oklahoma Sooners quarterback he came to Norman in 71 and started in 73. So let's get this party started, shall we?
Through 153 games, our record was 125, 24, 4, 2 now. People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
Well, welcome to this episode of Sooner Legends Podcast. I'm your host, Mike the Legend, and if you don't mind, give me a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on your post notification bells. That way you won't miss any OU football, Sooner related, or college football content that I will be dropping in the future. And also, if you don't mind, please share the video because, as we always say, sharing is caring. Well, today, like I said at the first of my video, I'm still going to do my historical stuff, but I've decided to move it to a Throwback Thursday style format. Still going to have the historical stuff on here, but a lot of news is coming into the program, so I'm going to be uploading videos on that, spring practice, spring game, etc. So today I'm going to be spotlighting the late Steve Davis. He was born in Bossier City, Louisiana, and he grew up in Sallisaw. And one of the biggest reasons why he came to OU, I've heard Steve say this, was he was a fan of Bob Warmack, who was quarterback for Jim McKenzie, and Chuck Fairbanks in the late 60s took us to the Orange Bowl and beat Tennessee. So Steve, he came to us in 71, and he actually didn't start playing until 1973. And from what I looked up on his stats last night, it shows him being a sophomore twice. So I think he redshirted in one of those years. So when I've got a guest coming on sometime next week, and I was going to ask him a little bit about it. But into the 1972 season, Chuck Fairbanks leaves, then head coach for the Oklahoma Sooners. Chuck Fairbanks leaves to take the head coaching job for the New England Patriots. They hire the young, dapper assistant coach to Chuck Fairbanks, Barry Switzer, and then we get put on probation. But I'm gonna digress on that because the guest I have coming next week, we're gonna delve into all of that. But so our starting quarterback in 72 was Dave Roberts, and he got kicked off the team for the 73 season, if that gives you a hint. But so Steve Davis came in as our starting quarterback. We had the wishbone in full operation. Steve, just from what I've understood, just fed to the wolves, but he turned out to be a doggone good quarterback. In 1973, we tie USC 7-7 at the Coliseum, and then won the rest of the games for 73 because we're on probation, no TV rights, can't go to a bowl game at the end of the season. So we ended up with I think it was 1 tie and 10 wins, if I remember right. And then so 74 rolls around, and what a fabulous year that was, 74. Steve took us all. We didn't lose a game that year, and of course, we ultimately won the AP National Championship for that year on probation without going to a postseason bowl game. And before I go any further, if y'all's trying to find 74 and 75 and 73 season stuff, the only thing you can find is pretty much in 73 is Little Joe's almost touchdown kickoff return against USC. 74, you ain't going to find squat. 75, you ain't going to see nothing until 1976, where we went to the Orange Bowl and beat Bo Schembechler and the Michigan Wolverines. So 75, we go in 75 season, lose 1 game to Kansas. And I think the score was like 26-3. I was at that game, and me and my dad was just like, what in the world just happened? And of course, I've heard Barry Trammell talk about this some. We weren't near as good as we was in that 74 season. We stumbled along in some games, and when Kansas came to town, I mean, they put a whooping on us. And from what I caught an interview with Little Joe, and he said he knew it was going to be a long day because Tinker Owens never dropped a pass, and Tinker dropped a couple of passes that game. So got beat. And then the next week we play Missouri. We go into the halftime. Just, I mean, we're rocking and rolling. And then after the halftime, things went south, and it took Steve Davis and Little Joe Washington on 2 plays to win the game. They couldn't have tied it, because if they had tied the game, we wouldn't have went to the national championship. Plain and simple. But they called the timeout on the touchdown part of it, and when Steve was going back out into the huddle, Barry told him, Coach Switzer told him, make sure Little Joe gets the ball. And of course, Little Joe got the ball. He made 2 cuts. Bam, gone. And I remember that game because Daddy and I was listening to the radio, and the legendary Mike Treps was calling the game. And while Joe was sprinting to the end zone, you hear Mike Treps, "Go Joe!" And then it was beautiful. And then got the touchdown, lined up for the 2-point conversion, got the 2-point conversion, and sealed the deal. And ultimately, we went to the national championship for 1975 season and 1976 at the Orange Bowl, and won back-to-back national championships, 74, 75. Steve will always hold a special place in my heart because of that. Because my all-time greatest quarterback of all time is Jack Mildren, but I digress on that. I've got a video of him. But Steve Davis will always hold a special place in my heart because he was I'm saying my quarterback because I'm an OU fan. He was my quarterback during the probation period, and what a dandy he was. And I pulled up some stats last night from him. He rushed 534 times for 2,124 yards and 34 touchdowns. His longest run was 47 yards in 1973, and he averaged 4 yards per carry. And he had, now this is his lifetime stats. It's not going by individual season, but he had 11, count them, folks, 11 100-yard rushing games. Now, y'all know we run the wishbone back then. We was run heavy, didn't pass a lot, but he did pass some. He passed 215 times, completing 86 passes for 2,036 yards for 21 tutties and 17 INTs. His completion percentage, he was 40%, and his efficiency was 136%. So his passing, he was, guys, we didn't pass the ball a lot in the wishbone. Didn't need to. Not when you had Little Joe and all Grant Burgett and all them guys back in the backfield back in them days, because we had some stud running backs. And some records that Oklahoma still holds from that 74 and 75 season. This is going to astound you. They still hold two NCAA records. Now, this is a combination of Steve Davis, Little Joe, and Jim Luttrell. Now, if Jim Luttrell sounds familiar, that's Seth Luttrell's daddy. I got to watch him. Yep, Seth is a legacy player. We all, guys my age and older, we all remember Jim Luttrell, and he had hell of a fullback too. Their record, they combined. One record was they averaged 73.9 rushing attempts per game, and the other one was 21.4 rushing first downs per game. That's how run heavy, and they still hold them. That they still hold them records. And then I found this out where I was looking up Steve, is one record Steve still holds is the NCAA winning percentage at quarterback, which was .956. Yeah. And the record, OU's record with Davis, was 32-1-1. Astounding, ain't it? And yet, when I hear these newer guys talk about quarterbacks, which, guys, I'm not here to cause an argument or anything. I watched Jason White. I watched Josh Heupel. I watched Sam Bradford. I watched Baker Mayfield. I watched Kyler Murray. Loved all of them. Ball slung all over the yard. ESPN highlight reels. I mean, what's not to love? But whenever these guys make a all-time top 10 list of OU quarterbacks, it kind of sours my tobacco, for lack of a better term, because two quarterbacks that's never mentioned. One is Jack Mildren, the godfather of the wishbone. Now, if you want to see poetry in motion, you just go back and watch the 1972 Sugar Bowl. Jack was a stud quarterback, and he could throw. And Steve Davis. Now, why would you not want to include somewhere in that top 10? Why would you not want to include Steve Davis? Because, I mean, he's got the yards, and one thing he don't have that them other quarterbacks has is a 2-time national championship back to back. So whenever y'all do a top 10 list, make mention of Steve Davis, the late Steve Davis. He passed away March 17th, 2013, in South Bend, Indiana, in a plane crash, and I'm not going to delve into that. I make no qualms the day that it was announced that he passed away, I cried like a baby because Steve was, I remember Steve really, really well. And it was a sad day for Sooner Nation when we lost Steve. He was a born again Christian. You could just tell when you got around Steve. He was just a good person. Before I jump off of here, I watched it was put out several years ago. It's by that guy Eli Gould. They had a Sooner gathering, Sooner Legends, which my channel's Sooner Legends podcast. But Steve Davis was talking about his first Texas game and beer being thrown on him, hot dogs. Yeah, kind of funny story to tell. But that's all I got for today. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and hop down in the comments. Tell me what you think. On your way out, give me a like if you don't mind. Please give me a like. New to the channel, please hit your red subscriber button. Turn on your post notification bells. And this is the legend. God bless you. Be nice to one another, and for God's sakes, don't say nothing that you will live to regret, because you can't take it back. This is the legend. We'll see you on the backside. God bless. Boomer Sooner.
Through 153 games, our record was 125, 24, 4, 2 now. People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.